Yes, it was your creation because we fired the word coincidence. Don't get caught up in the pull into ego, right? We don't talk about ego very often, but here's a place where ego can try to crop back in is, well, if I created that, look at what I've done in the world. No, look at how I have lined things up for my exploration. And don't assume it's actually true for anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That keeps your ego in check. Because none of you really have to worry so much about your egos. That's something we never had to really talk much about because we went to consciousness, 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 and the idea of ego got left behind. And some people have written to Veronica and said, well, what does Elohim say about ego? And we say, when you're on the path of consciousness, you don't have to worry about your ego because consciousness keeps your ego in check. But here's a position, this is the first time I've ever felt anybody say, I didn't want to feel that big. So it's not big because you mucked in other people's creations. It's big because, holy crap, it worked.
Yeah.
I'm actually able to have that kind of influence on my experience of my life. Difference? Got it? Okay.
And understanding it's just in my world.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about ego because I don't even know what's happening in other people's worlds.
That's right.
I mean, if I say out loud to somebody, look what I created,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to understand and everything. It's just in my world. I don't think I had impact on the entire world, earth.
Well, and that's really, we're glad you brought this up because this is actually quite a fascinating thing because the idea of I created it for me, I created it for me, is so powerful because the temptation would be very easily to say, I created it, ta-da, look how hot shit I am.
Mm-hmm.
But what would be so hilarious if you had an example where you said to someone, oh yeah, XYZ company takes EPUB, and they looked on there and said, no, it doesn't. And you'd be like, it does for us, which is basically what happened with you and Amazon this morning, because Veronica looked on there and she says, we're supposed to have a PRC, and you said, no, we gave them an EPUB and they took it. And she's like, okay, cool, we'll just give them an EPUB next time too.
Yeah, exactly.
But it says on there that you're supposed to give them a PRC or CRP or ABC or XYZ or JKLMNOP WXYZ. We don't know. Lots of letters involved in this project, not just the writing of the words.
It's hard to find the same information twice on Amazon.
Okay. Did you let that sit in?
Mm-hmm.
Just let that sink into you. Amazon is an enormous company spreading over your whole planet,
Right.
right?
Right.
Everybody's contributing to the creation of it.
Yes.
And what did she just say? It's hard to find the same information twice, yet you got it to do what you wanted it to do.
Right.
Perfect example.
Fascinating.
Veronica's got the chills up and down the body. And Joey has a Hackintosh.
Hey, Joey, we can
You gotta make a little confab. You gotta have a confab. Did you guys feel that Amazon thing though? Did you feel that?
Yeah.
You couldn't have said it more perfectly than you just did. So you go about creating in your world, focusing on your 10 things, which one of them happens to be, and we're extremely grateful, the book project. Because that's the exploration you're on. And in that exploration, look what you're learning. Not just about computers, but about yourself.
Yeah. No, it's the best thing.
It's a lot
On
of
so
fun.
many levels.
Yeah. Got it? Is that sinking in? Up,
Yeah,
jump up.
Yeah. On what Mary just said, so what was confusing to me is when you said, we don't create in other people's lives.
Yeah.
But all these people are taking, there's other people involved in our creations.
Yes.
So.
But you're not making their experience be your experience. Mary's,
Making their experience
Yes.
be my experience.
so Mary said, Amazon will take an EPUB.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, I don't care. I mean, it's relevant because it's a conversation topic, but I'm not putting a book on Amazon, so I don't care. But if you did care, if that was something you were working on, then you could let her creation inform yours. Or you could find that in your creation it conflicts with hers. Is her creation, are you going to align I am willing with her creation? Or are you going to find, I'm not willing to align with her creation? It's sort of like you and Tony, right?
Uh-huh.
He says, work on this project, and you can say, oh yes, I want to work on your project. And you're aligning with his choice of what the number 1 on the 10 is. Or he says, work on this project, you say, no, I want to stay on my project. And he's not creating in your life. You don't create in each other's lives as in, I'm creating your reality. But you do rub up against each other, let's say.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
rub up
okay.
against each other, and when you rub up against each other, you choose whether or not to be affected by choosing your reactions to your creations, choosing how you're affected by being rubbed up against by other people's creations.
Okay, so it's like script holding?
Script holding.
They're all, okay,
Yeah.
it's all script, so Amazon script holding,
Amazon's a
America.
great script holder because it's such a huge company.
right.
So Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook is these huge companies that are part of your lives every single day are extraordinary script holders, and they're rubbing up against you. They're sandpaper. They're everything.
Right, but,
Here's
okay. But
here's
I'm
an
not
example.
creating, right, I'm not
Okay,
creating.
we got to talk about this.
Okay.
So you had news this week that so and so killed so and so. We're not even going to say the names out loud. You know who we're talking about.
Right.
Lots of people had a huge spectrum of reactions to that. Some were delighted, some were probably dismayed, some could give a shit, some were like, why were we doing that in the first place, right? There's a huge spectrum of reaction to that dynamic. And if you go on Facebook, everybody's talking about how everybody else is reacting to it. Right? It's a very popular topic, how you reacted to the news. So, is that person's reaction creating in your life? No. You're observing and choosing. Observing and choosing. It can inform your decision, but it doesn't make your decision for you. Just like someone walks down the street with a groovy red hat on, you can walk over to them and say, where'd you get that great hat? I want one too. You can admire their hat from afar, or you can decide, God, I don't like wearing hats. That person, that tells me I don't like, I know I don't like wearing hats. Their decisions, their emanations, their choices, their reactions to their choices inform you, but do not tell you who you are. The girls had some good line about this last week or the week before. Oh yes, this was it. Let their decisions focus your spiritual journey. Why is so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so behaving certain ways about certain news? Well, that helps me see, using my insight, my clarity, my centered knowingness of my soul's perspective, my morality. It focuses how I wish to experience me. How I wish to experience me. Looking around focuses how you want to experience you. That's the purpose of script holders, sandpaper people, right? They show you, okay, yeah, I'm not interested in being like that. Or, God, I wish I could be more like that. I wish I could do that. That'd be awesome, right? Or, ooh, I'm glad I never walked down that path, right? Same thing with the 1,000. We're going to keep bringing it back to this until this energy passes. The same thing with the 1,000 is when you look at the 1,000, you can say, wow, so-and-so is really addicted to alcohol. So-and-so lost their house in the storm. So-and-so, 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 whatever, whatever, whatever. And then you say, yes, but this is what's in my lap. This is what I can actually do something about. This is where I'm going to put my attention. As I put my attention here, I emanate that out to the world. I emanate my clarity. See, your contribution is your clarity, not your actions.
Right.
Your actions are important on very limited scales for most of you. You're not public figures. You're not the president. You're not the general of the army, right? You're not a celebrity where you have 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people listening to you on Twitter. But you energetically have far more than that in influence. Exponentially more than that in influence. And that energetic influence is your purview. And don't go into, and I create in their life. I'm just the candle burning. For me, lighten my way, and that light emanates out to the world and offers Choice, just like the chick walking down the street wearing the red hat offers choice to the people who see her.